Did Red Bull make a mistake picking their second driver, and are they in trouble for the Constructors' World Championship? After watching qualifying, sprint qualifying, and the sprint race in the Chinese Grand Prix, I think they might be. Let's talk about it. So why do I say that Red Bull picked the wrong second driver? This comes down to the two options they had available to them last year, Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson. Obviously, in the end, they chose Liam Lawson. But the results so far are showing that Yuki Tsunoda is outperforming Liam Lawson in arguably a worse car. So far in sprint qualifying, Yuki Tsunoda has placed 8th, and in regular qualifying, he placed 9th. This is compared to Liam Lawson placing 20th in both qualifying sessions. In the sprint race, Liam Lawson did make gains, moving from 20th to 14th, but that pales in comparison to Yuki Tsunoda finishing in 6th, where he actually scored points. This is a shockingly close situation to what Red Bull was facing last year with Sergio Perez, and so far it's even worse than Sergio Perez's performance. Obviously, Liam Lawson is young and has a lot of room to grow. However, I think the smarter decision from Red Bull would have been to promote Yuki Tsunoda. He's obviously performing at a higher caliber earlier on in the season, and this will have huge implications in the Red Bull Constructors' Championship, which brings me to my other point. Is Red Bull in trouble for the Constructors? I think yes. There's a really great chance that Max is able to pull off a miracle as he did in previous years, and even win the Drivers' Championship. But for the teams, that's not what they really care about. Obviously, the drivers looks good, and that's what people remember, but the prize money comes from the constructors. That's where they get tens or hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Red Bull is currently fighting with one hand tied behind their back. This is the same situation that cost them the Constructors' Championship last year, and I predict will cost them the Constructors again this. In the race and in qualifying, we're seeing that both McLarens generally are performing at a pretty high caliber, although there are some questions as to if they will perform at a high caliber every single time they show up. But there are both drivers performing at or near their peak and will be getting almost the maximum amount of points every single race. This is also true of Ferrari. We saw this in the sprint race with Hamilton winning and Leclerc placing 5th. We also saw 2 Mercedes finish in the top 8, which in the sprint is where you score points, with Russell finishing 4th and Antonelli 7th. Red Bull, we saw them finish in 3rd and 14th. This is a trend that we saw last year, and again, if Red Bull is fighting with just a single car, even if Max is outperforming the rest of the field, which this year he's not. I mean, he's performing well, but he's not winning the races like he was last year for the first half of that year. This is going to make it really challenging for them to maintain their second place or fight for that first. And if they have Lawson finishing out of the points and qualifying so poorly every single race, then it's likely that both McLaren, Ferrari, and even Mercedes will finish ahead of them in the Constructors. On a positive note, I do want to say that Liam Lawson did show that he has good pace and worked his way up 6 positions in that 19-lap sprint race. That's not bad, and particularly considering he had a very mediocre Australian Grand Prix, but I think we can have that with an asterisk because of how challenging that race was. If he continues to show that he can come through the field and score points, that is a mark in his favor. However, if Yuki Tsunoda is continuously out-qualifying him and outscoring him in the Racing Bulls, which as we're seeing just doesn't have the same peak that the Red Bull has, I think it's pretty clear that Red Bull was a little short-sighted in their decision to promote Liam Lawson over Yuki Tsunoda. It'll be really interesting to see how the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship continues throughout the rest of the season, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the race results on Sunday look like. With that, I really appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.